Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. Another watercolor demonstration today. I'm broadcasting live from my studio to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and later on to Instagram. And I have a live chat room today. I'm in my studio today with my wife, Gloria.
Welcome, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast, and she'll be monitoring the chat room. And look over. Hello, Raisin. Hi. Good to see you again. If those who check in later, if you see this broadcast, give me a thumbs up and a like. And also, share my videos with your friends. Let them know that I'm on every Thursday, and give me a comment if you have questions during the broadcast. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And after the broadcast, you can put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, today I'm going to do a still life, and it's going to be a bowl of fruit. So I set it up in my my setup studio, and I took a photograph of it. And so let's go over to my painting table, and let me get started on it. Let's see, go to my overhead camera. Okay, this is a photograph. Yeah, this is a setup I did. I took a bowl, which is a copper bowl, and I put in some artificial fruit for a demonstration. Now, when you set up a still life, you have to play around with it, with the sizes and the shapes and so forth. And so then you got to move it around, and so this is what I came up with as a result. And it'll be different for everyone that sets up a still life. But number one, I got a good shape here, and I got some nice color, and so this will make I think an interesting painting. And I hope you enjoy this. Now, what I did here was I transferred this photograph. I drew from this, and I drew it on a piece of watercolor paper. This is a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper. This measures 11 inches wide and 15 inches long. I'm putting in a portrait format this way to get the dimension and so forth. Okay, and what I'm going to start out with, the I'm going to paint in the bowl first. This is my painting plan. I'm going to paint in the bowl, which is copper. So I'll show you how to mix up a copper color and some highlights. Then I'm going to start with the light color. I'm going to go into the banana, yellow, and then the orange, and then into the reds. Then I'll wind up with the dark values, which is the grapes and so forth. Okay. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to mix up now. My tools over here. I got my standard palette with all my Holbein artist watercolor paints, and I'm going to use I'll use a number 16 round brush, Holbein. It's a synthetic brush, but I'm going to use that for most of the painting today. I'm going to do a little bit of on the background. I'll use my 1-inch flat brush, and a little bit maybe some small areas I'll use a number 8 round, which is a Holbein brush, and then I'm going to use the silver brush Hake for watering down the background. So I need that brush there for the end. Okay, so I'm going to use this brush here. Use one brush, and that's kind of one of my things I like to just start out with. Now I'm going to mix copper, and copper is start with the color. It's like a brownish orange. So I'm going to start with a little bit of burnt sienna, which has got a little bit of brown. And then I'm going to wash out the brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of yellow into that to lighten it up a little bit and give me that little bit of orange flavor. Okay, and then I'm going to take. I have yellow orange here in my palette, so it's just a dash of that, not too much, because I want it to look like copper. I don't want it to look like an orange, so I want to use a copper color. So then I'll take a piece of paper here. Let me test that color out now. Okay, that's pretty close. All right, that's pretty close to the copper color I want to get, and I can always adjust that a little bit when I start to paint on it. So let me mix up a little bit more of this now. A little bit of burnt sienna, And because I want to mix enough color and I have to go back in and come back in and remix. So put a little bit of yellow lemon in with that, loosen it up, lighten it up a little bit. A little more yellow lemon. Okay, I'm getting there, close. And then just a dash of orange, just a dash. Okay. Now because I got a bigger puddle here now, I'm going to add a little more yellow to that. The lightest color is yellow, so that's going to take a little time to get that in there. Let me test this again. Yeah, that's a pretty good color there. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, all right. So let's get. I'm going to start here with the orange. I'm going to go the orange color. This is the copper color. I just mixed, and I'm going to hit the front of this area. Paint around some of the other shapes.
That's a beautiful color.
Yeah, well, you have to. I don't have copper in my palette. I have copper. You know, they have a copper in the inventory in the paints. But I'd rather mix my colors most of the time. I like to come up with a combination that will mix. And every time you mix a color, it's going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. That's what makes paintings interesting. Is the variety of things that you can do with the colors. And sometimes you come up with a shape or a color that you like and make a surprise. Okay. There's a little patch of copper over here on this side. Let's go around this section here, around the edge of the bowl. Yeah, I played around with putting it in a basket, but the basket didn't give me as much of a color that I liked to play with. So I said, okay. So I got my copper bowl out, and I liked the way the color combinations. And I thought this would be also an interesting exercise to show you how to mix a color for copper. And so now down here. Okay, I'm going to continue on. I'm using the photograph as a reference here. So I'm looking here. This is going to go down. I'm painting around these shapes here. I don't want to put oranges. I don't want to put that color on that color. So I'm saving the shapes. Now you notice the color changes as it dries, and now here this part is dry, but this part is wet. So it's going to have it's going to look a little different every time when you paint some section and you come back over here. The color is going to change a little bit because it's one part's a little bit wet and the other part is already dry. All right, now I'm going to move down here. Now what I'm going to do now, there's on the photograph I noticed there was some highlights. So I'm going to use the yellow lemon, and I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put a little bit of highlights. Just paint those in. These are highlights from the light. I had one light source that I used on the photograph, and that gave me a highlight. And that's something else I look for also is when I do a still life setup. I look for the highlights and the shadows. And on a still life, you have complete control over what you want to set up. So it's like, you know, it takes a little practice to set up things, but you try different variations, different positions, different angles. And then when you find something you like, you take several photographs. I mean, you just take, you know, as long as you have I use my cell phone for this. I just use a cell phone. I took several photographs, and I changed the angle, and I changed the lighting. So setting up a still life is an interesting exercise. And every time you do it, it'll be different. Every time. take a photograph in order to keep a good reference, and then actually what a good thing to do would be to set your still life up and then paint the which I had done also, set the still life up and then paint from the still life setup. But the photograph is, you always have, I always recommend take a photograph as a reference. That way you got something to, not to copy, but to use in case you want to set it up again, or you want to change something. And you can always go back almost to what you had before. If you have a reference photograph, you won't have to start all over again from the beginning. You have something to begin to start with. That kind of makes it a little bit more efficient for you. Okay, now I got those highlights in there. I'm going a little bit darker. This is the first layer of this color. The bronze or copper. I'm going to call it copper. It's a copper bowl. But painting bronze would be almost the same color. If bronze. Now gold is a little bit different. You know, there's the gold colors. You know, we'll get down below this here. We'll take out the whites here, reducing the whites. Okay, now I'm gonna let that dry. Okay. And I know there's a difference in the value, but I'm going to change that later. All right, I'm going to let it dry right now. Okay, I'm going to move up here and I'm going to work on the light color. The light color of the banana. So I got my lemon. I'm going to use lemon yellow. Right out of the tube, right here, right out of the palette. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that right in here. So I start with the lighter colors first. And I'll paint the shape. I drew the shape in here from the photograph. Now, the reason when I set this up, I had my plan here was to get some dark shapes again. This is the lightest shape of the painting. It's yellow, and so I put some dark shapes next to it so it would show up. That's why you have those dark grapes next to the yellow banana, because I want it to have a nice contrast. So as an artist, those are the things you think about. You think about not only shapes and values, but you think about contrast. You think about what color combinations that work together. Okay. Now, while it's still wet, what I can do is now, the banana looks pretty flat there, so I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna, just a touch, put it on the brush, and I'm going to put a little shadow in there, just to give that banana a little shape here, where it's got a little edge on this. Let that come down, and that'll dry lighter, but I want to have a little shadow on this edge over here, because I'm going to have the light coming from this direction here. Okay, so now what I can do now, I just washed out my brush. I think what I'll do is I just got a clean brush now, it's just moist, and I'm going to kind of smooth out that edge, just blend that edge out. So I don't want a hard edge, I want kind of a soft edge. Okay, that's better. All right, now next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to paint the orange. That's the next color. So I'm going to use orange right out of the palette. Not gonna mix orange today. I could, but I'm going to go ahead and just put it right in. So the only color I really mixed today was the brass bowl. Everything else is going to be almost palette color. And I want a nice strong orange here for this. I'm going to start these bright colors. If you don't use bright colors in your paintings, things won't really show up that well. Everything will look a little dull. So you want to put some bright colors in there to really have things active for the eye to follow. But you don't want to overdo it. I mean, the yellow and the orange are about the two brightest colors. Then the yellows are going to be a little bit darker and not as bright, but not as bright as this. Okay, now I'm going to take out some water. I'm going to take out a little bit of water, just a little bit of paint out of the brush. It's just a moist brush. Now I'm going to bring this down now and bring it into the rest of the shape here. Now it's important when you're painting something like, say, a still life or something like fruit, you want to make sure you got the shapes, because everybody knows what the shape of an orange or an apple or whatever you're doing. So you want to keep the believability of the object for your viewer. You don't want to get too abstract on the shape size. You want to keep it close to what you're looking at and make it believable. All right, that's coming down. Now I got less water. I got less paint on my brush now, so I'm just really using the paint that's already here and just kind of moving it down, spreading it. Now I'm going around this object here, which is the banana. I'm trying to stay away from the edge there. I don't want that to. The banana is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. That edge, I'll come back and put a little more when I get to that. I'll move this edge over here, okay. And bring this on down around this shape. Okay. Now, what I want to do there while I'm now I'm going to change brush here for a second. Now the center of the while it's still a little bit wet, and it's just okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of green number 1. I'm going to put a little bit of green up here in the stem area. Just kind of let that sit there. That's the green stem area of the orange. That gives it a little more color. Okay. All right, so I'll rinse out my brush. I'll come back and I'll let that orange, let that apple, let that banana dry a little bit more before I go any closer. So, and I'll come back and clean that up just a little bit. So I'm going to get the main part. Now I'm going to work. There's an apple over here on this side over here. If you look at the fruit basket, I got the banana. There's the orange, and then down there's a red apple, and there's a darker apple over here. So I'm going to get this one. I get these two apples. The lighter red apple. I'm going to use right out of the palette. I'm going to use my Pyrrole red right out of the palette. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to. It's a bright color. Not as bright as the orange color, but it's a nice bright red. And it's going to match pretty well with what I have there. And I got a stem on the apple, so I'm going to paint around that a little bit there. Now what I can do, I can also, I noticed in my photograph there's a little highlight here. I'm going to try to leave a little highlight on this apple. So right here, I'm going to pick it right here. Just leave a little white paper showing as a highlight. So I'm painting around that highlight right there. Okay. Again, I'm putting in a good shape here of the object. I'm going to paint around. I'm painting around these other shapes here that I have.
We have a question about looking for dark and light contrast in every painting.
Oh, yeah. Question of contrast. Well, yes, that's one of the elements of art is to have contrast. Contrast is really the most. It's not the most important thing in a painting, but it's very important in a painting to have contrast. Contrast in color, contrast in value. That attracts the eye. The lights and darks is what attracts the eye, and that's what, as a painter, you want to entertain the viewer with lights and darks, warm and cool. And you'll see I got some warm, these are warm colors, and I'm going to put some cool colors here pretty soon when I do the grapes. Okay. This little highlight, I'm going to knock this highlight just a little, knock it down just a little bit, just have a little speck of light showing on that part of the apple. Okay, and then I got one more apple, and I'm going to use another red, and I have two reds in my palette. This is Alizarin Crimson. It's a really rich dark red, but this apple here in the back it's in shadow back here, so it doesn't show. So I'm going to put that back there. I don't want that to be as bright as the other apple. So they're two separate apples, different variety of apple, different color. But it's also a little bit in shadow here behind this orange. So I'm going to put this back here. So this is Alizarin Crimson, which is a very beautiful color. It's a very rich red, which goes with a lot of colors, a lot of paintings. It's a good mixture painting. It makes a nice dark color. Now here's a contrast of darks against lights. You got this dark red against that lighter orange. So there's a color contrast right there and a value contrast. The color is got a darker value, so it's going to have a contrast in value and also in color. If you look at the color wheel, the red is a little bit darker than the orange. So I have both color contrast and value contrast. So this is not a very big apple, but it gives a nice variety. I mean, what I want, I just didn't want to have one red or two reds in the same color. If I'm going to use two reds, I'm going to make a variety of reds, which is what I'm doing here. I got a light red, a lighter red, and a darker red, as far as the apples are concerned. And I got the shape, and I got the negative shape here right now, which is I'm going to paint in soon. Get a believable shape. There. There's no highlight out there because that one's in shadow. Okay. Now, okay, I promised I would. Let me work on before I go to the darker. Let me these are still a lighter color, so let me wash out my brush. I'm going to clean up this. I'm going to clean up this orange here. So go back to I got orange here in my palette. Just pick it up what I have on the palette. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to clean up these edges. So I'm going to come in here now next to this banana. The banana's dry now, so I can go in here and put it in. And I'm eliminating the white color also. There's a white edge I just want to take away. Okay, all right, now I'm going to get into, there's one other light, not a light color, yeah there is, it's a light color, it's a lighter color than the rest. There's a little set of grapes back here which are green. If you look at the photograph, there's some green grapes back here and along with these purple grapes, dark purple grapes. So I'm going to put the green ones in, they're very small area. But again, it gives me a little variety of color too. So I got another color here. These are green grapes. And I love to paint grapes because I love to put the highlights in of the grapes. And in the photograph you don't see the highlight here because, yeah, you see a small one, but I'm going to make it a little more prominent. And I'm going to leave, what I'd leave is I leave the white paper showing where I want the highlight. And so these are small shapes, different color. Now, oh, here's another contrast: the green and the red. That's an obvious contrast in color. I've got the green grape against the red apple here. And the green goes nicely against this orange. Now leave some highlight, leave some indications of highlights in there. Let the imagination of the viewer decide what's there. Okay. And I got one more shape out here. And I think what I'm going to do is bring this one out. Now I got the stem of the apple. I'm going to paint. I'm painting negative painting around the apple stem, right here. I'm going to leave a little highlight on the grape. And my photograph didn't show it very well, but I don't like this gap in here, so I'm going to fill the gap in with another shape right in here. I'm going to fill the shape in right here. Okay, all right. Okay, the last subject. Well, I got actually two sections here. I got this area called the dark area, which is going to be the dark grapes. And they're the most interesting part that I like. I'm going to let me make myself a little more room here. I'm going to take off the orange and wipe out the red here. We don't need that anymore. I'm washing out my brush because I just had green in it, so I'm going to pick up another color. And I'm going to start with the purple, which is going to be Quinacridone violet. Start with. Now it's not going to. This I will change this color. That's a little bit too. Not too purple. It's a beautiful color, but I'm going to make it even darker because these grapes are really dark. So I'm going to put a little bit of ultramarine blue mixed in with that, and that will give me a real dark purple. That'll give me a real dark purple. Against those lighter colors. Now this is where the real contrast is going to come in now. And I'm going to start here next to this apple over here. This one section over here. So, and this is one reason I like to paint grapes is I like to make the highlight. and it just shows, it's just a little circular part that comes out of this. And this, I'm not even going by the, if you look at the photograph, you can see all the highlights there. See all those little white areas? Those are all highlights on the grapes. So that's what I enjoy. If you see a grapes in a photograph, or you see grapes in the grocery store, when you buy grapes, you'll see a whole bunch of highlights. Especially if the light's shining on them. But you'll see a bunch of highlights, and that's why this is so fascinating. I've always enjoyed painting grapes. I did a painting once of a vineyard with the grape vineyard, and that was a lot of fun. It was a vineyard, and I had lots of grapes in there, and you know, I didn't paint highlights on every grape that I had, but I put enough in there to indicate that there were highlights. And I think the only advice I give on this would be not to put the highlight right in the center of the shape. You know, put it off to the side a little bit. Don't make it exactly symmetrical. Symmetrical is a bad word in art. You don't want to have too many symmetrical things. It's okay to have something symmetrical, but then you want to have asymmetrical in a lot of parts too. And that's variety, and it's also makes the painting more interesting. I'm not following the photograph here. I got the outside shape here I'm following, which I drew in, but I'm not following the actual photograph of these grapes. I'm just going to make up as I go. And I'm not painting individual grape shapes. What I'm doing is I'm painting in the area, and I'm leaving the highlights to indicate that those are what the grapes, because they're so dark, it's impossible to tell the individual shapes of the grapes. So in a case like this, it's better just to paint the shape in, and then indicate the object by its like it's here. It's a round. If you have a round highlight, then it's usually going to be a round shape.
Jocelyn says, nice watercolor.
Yeah, it's coming. Red, thank you. I like the. I mean, I decided this would be an interesting painting because number one, I like the colors, and I'm using mostly palette colors. I have my Holbein palette is very, you know, I use a pretty basic palette most times. But today, when I'm painting this fruit basket or fruit bowl, I decided to let my inhibitions go loose and just. This is not a loose painting. I'm trying to. It's pretty tight what I'm doing because I'm making a lot of detail. But my point is, I let the colors kind of go wild. But I'm following the actual photograph that I took. These are the colors that I interpret out of the photograph. But I have painted enough grapes. I know exactly what they look like, so I don't have to really look at a photograph to tell me what they are. And it doesn't take much of the imagination to make out what they are either. It's right. Okay. So this whole painting is going to be about painting the brass bowl and about painting the grapes. Now as I get a little bit further back in here, I can make the shapes look a little bit smaller as I go in. This gives me a little bit of idea of depth. As I go back in toward the here is closer to me, the shape's a little bit larger, and as I go back, I can indicate that there's these are smaller, closer together, so it indicates a little bit of depth in the painting by spacing out these highlights. Here's another nice contrast. I got this right dark purple next to this yellow lemon, or excuse me, yellow lemon on the banana, and there's a dark contrast right there. We were talking about contrast earlier. This purple against the yellow really makes it pop out. I think I'll put one more in here. One more small one. Get the shape and then the highlight. Try not to too many hard edges on the round shapes. I think what I'll do is I'll put another one in here. So I'm adding some more in the shadow here, the shadow of next to the banana. I'm going to put a darker shape in here. Okay, I got some more, bunch, there's not as many over here, but I'm going to make it a little faster now. So, over here, just going to repeat the same motion. So when I set this still life up, I did this on purpose. I wanted the dark grapes next to the light colored fruit, the banana and the orange, so that they would show both in contrast and color. Yeah, it's a very colorful bowl of fruit. But that's what I wanted, and it's going to look just like, almost like, not like the photograph, but it's going to be, I'm using the colors of the photograph to inspire me, and the arrangement I used to set it up was my inspiration. But now I'm just painting in my feeling about how these grapes will go together. I chose the colors that I thought would go together nicely, and again, the actual photograph helps a little bit, but at this stage, or before the stage starts, you forget the photograph. You've got your design, you've got your subjects and your elements, and now just enjoy painting. Get your brush work down and just enjoy the process. Got that Quinacridone violet mixed in with that ultramarine blue, gives me a very dark, rich purple. I'm taking advantage of that color. It's just a beautiful combination. painting along the edge of this banana here to get a nice sharp edge, just to separate it. This is probably the most, not the critical point, but this is one area, keep it from getting too far off as far as the shape. Don't want to ruin the banana shape.
Ashima celebrated your post.
I'm set.
Ashima celebrated your post.
Oh,
LinkedIn.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate that a lot. If you have questions about what I'm doing here or anything about any of my other arts, I have lots of other photographs and other videos on my YouTube. This is just one of them. And this is my weekly program where I like to show a little. This is a demonstration of painting a still life. I'm really a landscape painter, which I enjoy landscape painting, and but once in a while you get out of your mode and try something new. And I like still lifes, flowers and fruits, vegetables. They're all interesting, very interesting subjects to paint. Let's see, almost done with this. Let's see, oh, okay. Coming to the edge of the bowl here. The highlights are, this is in the back, so the highlights are a little bit smaller. It's further away. Got some grapes hanging over the edge. Okay. All right. Now I want to I'm going to go and make a little bit of color change. Not color change, but what I want to do is put a little more yellow down here. Let's see. Yeah. There's a handle here. This is a copper bowl, but it has a gold, not gold, but it's a yellow handle on it, which is another kind of metal. So I'm going to paint that in right now. And I'll take a little bit of yellow ochre, paint back here. It's a little bit of, not in shadow, but it's a little bit behind, so I'll put that there. Let me put a little more color on this. Okay, and then back in here I'm going to take a little bit of this mix I have here, which is a darker mix. I'm going to go in and fill in some of the background in here behind the grapes and next to the banana. I'm going to pick up a little bit of green. Okay. All right. I think what I'll do is okay. I'm gonna get the detail on the apple. I got a little bit of burnt sienna. And we'll put in the brown stem. On that. And I think what I'll do is I'll take my big brush here now. Let me wash it out. Make sure I take out my color. I got purple on this, so I got to clean it out real good. Maybe I'll change the brush just to be sure. I'm going to use this quill brush, which is based. I started with the round, and I'll go to the quill. I've got a quill brush here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that gold mixture, or copper mixture, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to blend this out a little bit more, right in here. Kind of bring this together. And there's a little bit of dimension on the, a little bit of shape to this bottom here. It's not just a flat surface. It's got a little bit of shape to it. So I'm putting a little bit of burnt sienna down here to darken it up just slightly. Give it a little roundness. Keeping those highlights clean. And a little bit of just a slight little bit. It's a little bit dark. You know, there's not much light under it here, so it's a little bit darker along the edge. And then I take my small brush, and I can take a little darker burnt sienna and go along the bottom edge just a little bit. Just give it it's a little bit of shadow. There's a little rim under here. I'll go on. Just trying to make a little detail. Adding a little detail to the copper bowl. Making this, I'm putting a little darker on those highlights so they pop out a little bit more. Make a little darker color around the highlights. Make it a little more believable. Okay. Now on the orange itself, I'm going to take some of this again burnt sienna, and there's a little bit of there's always a little bit of shape on the top of an orange. I'm going to add that in. These are like little grooves, little marks on the top of an orange, and it's not exactly smooth. Okay. And I'll put a little bit more shadow on the banana. So I take a little bit of burnt sienna, adding a little more color that give a little more shape to the banana shape. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do with the background? Let me show. I'm going to do something different here now. Let me dry the edges. Make sure it's dry. And I'm going to play around with the background. Okay. I can also take a little bit of that burnt sienna. I can go along the edge here. And there's a little bit of dark on the edge. On again, a little more definition on the bowl. Just a few brush marks. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do it. This is another technique I'm going to demonstrate here. Now I got my board propped up about 15 degrees. All right. And I'm going to take my Hockey brush. This is a middle-sized Hockey with just plain water. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wet the paper. This is the negative shape around the bowl of fruit. So I'm going to wet the paper first. So I'm going to do a little wet on wet here. And I'm gonna go. There was a shadow pattern on the photograph because I set it up with a light, and I'm not going to paint that. I'm just going to do a pretty simple background, but I'm going to show you how I did it this way with just one brush there. Now I'm going to take a tissue. I'm going to cover up the major part of the painting here. Then I'm going to take a spray bottle, a dot spray bottle. This is a fine mist sprayer, and I've got cerulean blue in. The fine mist sprayers and the dot sprayers are available on Everett's Watercolor. Power in a bottle. Everett's Watercolors is available on Everett's Watercolors exclusively. So I got in the black top, I've got cerulean blue. I shake it up, get it mixed inside. Okay, now I'm going to spray. First of all, I got to make sure when I spray, I got to make sure I don't spray it on anything around my equipment and so forth. So I'm going to put a towel up here to protect the speakers and so forth like that. And I'm going to go ahead and spray this on. I'm going to do a light spray. I'm not going to put too much on. I'm just going to put just a little color in the background. And I'm going to take my large. This is the 1 inch. This is the 1 inch flat with just water in it. And I'm going to take that. I'm going to spread the paint around just a little bit. And I'm going to take this off, and just bring this down a little bit closer to the fruit. So this is going to be a light color, just a little bit of color on the background. Not overdone, but just a little bit of color in the background. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to turn this thing around. And I'm going to take take a dry tissue. Well, first of all, wet the area again with a Hockey. So I'll come down here and wet the area, pre-wet the area, a little wet on wet. So this is a real fast and quick way to get a background onto the painting, and it's just to take away a lot of that white paper. I'm going to leave some of the white paper will show, but a large amount of it will be gone. Okay, so now I'm going to cover up my bowl. So I'll put a tissue across the painting. And now I'm going to go in and spray. Now I'm going to just spray across there with really light spray. And I'll take my 1 inch flat brush with just water in. I'm going to spread that paint around just a little bit, just to cover the section, just to cover not everything, but enough of it. 99%, at least up to the edge. So that's going to knock down. It's going to reduce all that white paper around the edge. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it around again. Okay. Let's see. I've got a couple more minutes here. Let me try this again. Let me cover this up. Now I'll take the dot sprayer, palette in the bottle, dot spray, fine mist sprayer with a black top, sold exclusively in Everett's Watercolors. Make sure I pass that on. So you hold it back about 12 inches away. Get that fine mist, and I'm going to take the 1 inch brush, and I'm going to move that paint around just a little bit. So I'm using a 1-inch brush to kind of spread the colored water around. It's really colored water is what it is. Okay.
A point on the sprayer is that that top is interchangeable with our dot spray bottles as well, so.
Yes, thank you, Gloria. Yes, they're interchangeable. The dot sprayer, which I use with my just plain water, the dot sprayer with a white top, I can interchange that with the black top and use different colors in my palette. And I have all kinds of colors in the bottle. So let me dry this off real quick. Okay, what I've done is I've finished the painting here with the fruit. And you can see here from the photograph with the brass bowl, copper bowl, and the fruit basket with the lemon, the orange, 2 colored apples, and 2 colors of grapes. And the most fun part for me was I enjoyed painting. See the highlights in those grapes? A little highlight on the apple over here. Not too much, but just a little bit. Let me turn this around. Just dry this off a little bit, and we'll put a mat around it and look at the final painting here. Real quick. Okay. Okay. And this was the demonstration. This is gonna. I'll take this off. I just got clips on here to hold it onto the painting board. And take the clips. Put this away. I'll dry off my board because I don't want to get too much water on my paper. Okay, lay it on the back here. Now I'm going to put a mat around it. Thank you, Gloria. And let's put a dark blue mat around it. Woo! Okay, I'll move it up a little bit. There we go. The lay's flat. It's still a little bit damp up there at the top. Lay it flat, and okay. Okay, so that's my fruit basket and a copper bowl, and with a light spray around for a background, light blue background. I think it turned out great. I hope you liked it. Okay, let's go back to my main table. I'll get set up here. Get out of my way. Okay, main camera. Hey, that was a very interesting painting. It turned out really nice. The bowl turned out great with the reflections on the highlights and the highlights on the grapes and on the apple. I think it turned out really good. So you can try that. This was a still life I set up in my studio and took a photograph. And it takes, those are things you can do yourself. Set your own still life up and then try it from there. And I would recommend fruit, or you can do vegetables, or anything else for still life, flowers, and do a small painting. And this happened to be a quarter sheet, so it was a larger painting. It took me a little more time to paint a quarter sheet, but the smaller sheet would take less time. So, question.
Stark Music presents Nice Painting.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think. Yes, it was. Thank you for your comment. The painting turned out really nice. This will be posted on my website also as a photograph. And I got some other announcements I'll make about my websites. Like I said, a new website coming out, a page with all my paintings on it. So you can have a chance to take a look at more of my paintings. So until then, I'll see you next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight I'll be on 7:30. Simply Drawing with Everett, and I'm gonna do a drawing. Let's see. I'm gonna do a drawing tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also on Sunday I'll be releasing a small. Anyone can draw with one line only. That'll be released on Sunday. Now, if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll get notified of all my videos I'm putting out. Okay. So give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and share my video with your friends. Let them know I'm live every Thursday on both those times I just talked about. So until then, you all have a safe week. June's here, so tomorrow's the last day of May. So welcome to June, and you all have a good summer together. So until next week, we'll see you, and see you next